From 1965 to 1971, Hogan's heroes delivered sharp wit, clever storylines, and unforgettable characters, turning a World War II prisoner of war camp into the setting for one of TV's most unique comedies. Led by Bob Crane and a talented ensemble cast, the show became a fan favorite and a lasting piece of television history. But behind the laughs, the real-life stories of its stars were often far more dramatic and sometimes tragic. Over the decades, many cast members have sadly passed away, some under mysterious or heartbreaking circumstances. Today, we remember the Hogan's Heroes actors we've lost and the legacies they left behind. Bob Crane was born on July 13, 1928, in Waterbury, Connecticut, into a modest household where his father was a businessman and his mother a homemaker, providing a structured yet emotionally restrained environment. From a young age, Crane exhibited a natural affinity for music and performance, drumming in school bands and captivating peers with his charisma, but he also faced the typical pressures of a middle-class upbringing compounded by a quiet struggle with self-esteem, often masking insecurities beneath humor and charm. At age 37, he took on the role of Colonel Robert Hogan in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, portraying a witty, fearless, and ingenious leader of Allied POWs who navigated the dangers of captivity with humor and cunning. Hogan was the embodiment of clever defiance against oppressive forces, and Crane's nuanced performance made him a symbol of resilience, earning both critical acclaim and enduring popularity. Yet behind the scenes, Crane's personal life was turbulent. His marriage to Terzian ended in divorce, partly due to his escalating obsession with sex and the videotaping of extramarital encounters, a habit that would later cast a shadow over his public legacy. Professionally, Crane faced the frustrations of typecasting, and after the show's cancellation in 1971, he struggled to secure meaningful roles, turning to dinner theater and local television, attempting to regain artistic fulfillment. The tragedy of his life reached a harrowing climax when he was brutally murdered on June 29, 1978, in Scottsdale, Arizona, at age 49, a homicide involving a blunt object enshrouded in controversy due to the revelations about his private recordings, which scandalized the public and complicated posthumous assessments of his career. At the time of his death, his net worth was relatively modest, estimated between $150,000 and $250,000, encompassing personal savings, royalties, and property. However, Crane's cultural impact as the clever, unflappable Hogan endures, immortalizing him in the pantheon of television legends despite the dark intrigue surrounding his personal life. Werner Klemperer, born on March 22, 1920, in Cologne, Germany, to a Jewish family, faced the traumatic upheaval of fleeing the rise of Nazism in 1933, an experience that would profoundly shape both his worldview and his artistic sensibilities. Settling in the United States, Klemperer immersed himself in theater and music, eventually serving in the U.S. Army during World War II, a juxtaposition of personal loss and patriotic commitment that lent a unique depth to his later portrayals. At 45, he assumed the role of Colonel Wilhelm Klink in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, a role he insisted be carefully crafted so Klink was always portrayed as vain, cowardly, and ineffectual, ensuring the character's comedic incompetence never trivialized the horrors of Nazism. Klemperer's Klink became a beloved figure, earning him 2 Emmy Awards, yet he grappled privately with the weight of representing a German officer as a Jew, navigating the moral complexities of comedy underpinned by historical atrocity. His early life was steeped in intellectual rigor and musical training, which he maintained throughout his career, performing in opera and theater even as television fame soared. Despite accolades, Klemperer endured the strains of typecasting and the pressures of being the public face of comedic satire of Nazis, a responsibility he took seriously, always mindful of the delicate balance between humor and respect for historical suffering. He passed away on December 6, 2000, in New York City at age 80 from cancer. Klemperer's net worth was estimated between $1 million and $2 million, derived from his extensive work in theater, music, and television royalties. His legacy transcends mere entertainment value, demonstrating how a performer can navigate complex moral landscapes while achieving commercial success, and he remains a touchstone for actors grappling with ethically fraught roles, a reminder of the personal courage required to balance humor with conscience. John Banner was born on January 28, 1910, in Stanislaw, Austria-Hungary, present-day Ivano-Frankivsk, Ukraine, into a Jewish family that would later be devastated by the Holocaust, an experience that left indelible marks on his psyche and worldview. Banner's early years were defined by a combination of privilege within a culturally rich household and the escalating threats of anti-Semitism, experiences that forced him to cultivate resilience, empathy, and emotional intelligence from a young age. After fleeing Nazi annexation in 1938 and serving in the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II, Banner turned to acting, ultimately achieving fame at age 55 with his portrayal of Sergeant Hans Schultz in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, a character beloved for his bumbling, kindly nature and his gentle catchphrase, "I know nothing, nothing." Schultz's charm and moral decency reflected Banner's own values, and his portrayal became a masterclass in subtly humanizing a figure within a comedic setting tied to one of history's darkest periods. Despite the warmth he projected on screen, Banner's personal life was shadowed by the trauma of losing family members in the Holocaust and coping with typecasting that limited his roles primarily to Germanic characters. Professionally, he faced obstacles in post-war Hollywood as a European émigré, but he turned these limitations into a unique niche that endeared him to audiences. Banner died on his 63rd birthday, January 28, 1973, in Vienna, Austria, from a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm. His net worth was modest, likely under $500,000, reflecting a career that emphasized steady work over wealth accumulation. Nonetheless, his legacy as Schultz remains enduring, a portrayal that combined humor, humanity, and ethical clarity, demonstrating how personal history and loss can inform and elevate artistic expression, and leaving a lasting imprint on generations of viewers who recognized in him both comedy and conscience. Robert Clary, born on March 1, 1926, in Paris, France, was 39 when he began portraying Corporal Louis Lebeau in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, the witty and resourceful French POW whose culinary expertise and penchant for sly sabotage provided both comic relief and essential support to the Allied prisoners. On screen, Lebeau's charm, loyalty, and unflappable courage made him an audience favorite, yet behind the laughter was a life shadowed by unimaginable horror. Born into a Jewish family, Clary's teenage years were shattered when the Nazis occupied France. At 16, he was deported to concentration camps, including the infamous Buchenwald, where he survived by performing songs for SS officers while 12 members of his family perished in Auschwitz. The trauma of losing his entire family created psychological scars that would accompany him for decades, influencing his private demeanor and shaping his resilience. Clary's post-war journey included emigration to the United States, where he fought to rebuild a life in the entertainment industry, often contending with typecasting as a foreign character and residual anti-Semitism, yet he persevered, forging a career in both stage and screen, and releasing music albums. He also took on a role as a Holocaust educator, sharing his story in lectures and interviews, emphasizing survival, memory, and cultural preservation. Despite his horrors, Clary embraced humor, music, and painting as a form of therapy, and in private he lived a disciplined yet vibrant life, cultivating friendships and participating in cultural events. He passed away peacefully at age 96 on November 16, 2022, in Los Angeles, leaving a net worth estimated between $1 to $2 million, comprised of acting residuals, musical royalties, and personal investments. His legacy endures as both a beacon of human resilience and a poignant reminder of history's darkest chapters, with Lebeau's on-screen ingenuity and charm reflecting the indefatigable spirit Clary carried throughout his remarkable life. Richard Dawson, born Colin Lionel M. on November 20, 1932, in Gosport, England, was 33 when he took on the role of Corporal Peter Newkirk in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, a mischievous and resourceful British POW whose impersonations, charm, and cunning aided the Allied war effort while offering consistent comedic tension. Newkirk's on-screen audacity, cleverness, and playful flirtation with danger won him both critical and audience acclaim, embodying a sophisticated mix of wit and courage. Dawson's real-life early years mirrored such complexity. He endured wartime evacuation, economic deprivation, and the challenges of a working-class upbringing while navigating the strictures of wartime Britain. He served in the British Merchant Navy, a period that honed both discipline and adaptability. Moving to the United States, Dawson reinvented himself, successfully transitioning from acting to becoming a beloved television personality as the host of Family Feud, earning the nickname the Kissing Bandit for his on-air gestures and charm. Behind the celebrity facade, Dawson experienced marital turbulence with 2 marriages, fathering 3 children while contending with career pressures and public scrutiny. Scandals were relatively mild but included friction over the physicality of his television persona and rumors of extramarital liaisons. Despite these challenges, Dawson leveraged his charisma and wit, maintaining relevance in entertainment for decades. He passed away from cancer on June 2, 2012, at age 79 in Los Angeles, leaving a net worth estimated at $100,000, surprisingly modest given his fame, likely due to lifestyle expenditures and uneven financial planning. His cultural imprint, however, remains significant. Newkirk's resourcefulness and Dawson's signature warmth cemented him as an enduring figure of television history, and his story illustrates the interplay of personal struggle and public adoration in shaping a legendary career. Larry Hovis, born on February 20, 1936, in Wapato, Washington, was 29 when he began playing Sergeant Andrew Carter on Hogan's Heroes, 1965, the show's explosives expert whose loyal, enthusiastic, and often goofy persona added both technical competence and lightheartedness to the POW team. Carter's character, known for inventive sabotage and comic timing, quickly became a fan favorite, blending intelligence with approachability in a way that reflected Hovis's own musical and comedic background. Hovis was raised in a working-class, rural environment where economic hardship and early family challenges instilled a strong work ethic, resilience, and the use of humor as a coping mechanism. He confronted personal and professional setbacks, including the limitations of typecasting, minor career slumps after the show's conclusion, and the quiet struggle with health issues that would later emerge. Despite these, Hovis diversified his career into writing, producing game shows, and teaching drama at Texas State University, guiding younger performers while maintaining his dedication to creative expression. He faced the dual pressures of preserving a beloved television legacy and navigating a changing industry that often overlooked seasoned character actors. Hovis passed away from esophageal cancer on September 9, 2003, in Austin, Texas, at age 67, leaving a net worth likely under $500,000, reflecting a career focused on artistry and mentorship rather than wealth accumulation. His legacy encompasses not only the laughter and ingenuity he brought to television audiences but also the influence he had on students and emerging artists, the resilience he exhibited in the face of typecasting and illness, and the quiet dignity with which he cultivated a life dedicated to performance, teaching, and creative integrity, leaving a lasting imprint on both entertainment and education. Ivan Dixon was born on April 6, 1931, in New York City into a working-class African-American family, a background that exposed him early to systemic racism, poverty, and limited educational opportunities, shaping both his worldview and the depth he would later bring to his craft. He was 34 when he began portraying Staff Sergeant James Kinch-Kinchlowy on Hogan's Heroes in 1965, the composed and highly competent communications expert who acted as second-in-command to Colonel Hogan. Kinchlowy's intelligence, calm demeanor, and moral clarity made him a grounding force amidst the chaos of POW schemes, earning Dixon both critical acclaim and fan admiration. Despite the on-screen authority and professionalism, Dixon's personal life and early career were fraught with challenges. He encountered frequent discrimination in Hollywood, was often passed over for prominent roles because of his race, and struggled against the stereotype-laden parts that dominated the industry in the 1950s and 1960s. Personal tragedy and professional frustration intersected when he faced near invisibility despite his talent, pushing him to pivot toward directing. His journey included directing socially resonant television, such as episodes of The Waltons, Magnum, P.I., and The A-Team, as well as helming the politically charged film The Spook Who Sat by the Door, which courted controversy for its radical portrayal of Black empowerment, highlighting Dixon's willingness to risk career stability for meaningful storytelling. He remained unmarried for much of his life, focusing intensely on his career and activism, navigating the alienation and stress that often accompanies being a pioneer in an industry resistant to change. Dixon passed away on March 16, 2008, at the age of 76 from complications of kidney failure. At death, his net worth was estimated between $500,000 and $1 million, comprised of residuals, directing fees, and modest real estate holdings. His cultural legacy endures as a trailblazer for Black artists, a director unafraid to confront social injustice, and an actor who lent dignity, intelligence, and humanity to every role he inhabited, leaving a profound impact on television and civil rights representation. Leon Askin, born Leo Ashkenazi on September 18, 1907, in Vienna, Austria-Hungary, came into a Jewish family during a period of deep social and political upheaval, where anti-Semitism and economic uncertainty defined everyday life. He was 58 when he began portraying General Albert Burkhalter on Hogan's Heroes in 1965, the stern, often bumbling Nazi officer whose authoritarian presence provided both tension and comedy. Askin's childhood and early adulthood were shadowed by persecution. The rise of Nazism forced him to flee Austria in 1940. He suffered beatings at the hands of the SA and SS, and tragically, both of his parents perished in the Holocaust, events that left deep psychological scars and a lifelong wariness of authority. Despite this trauma, he emigrated to the United States and joined the U.S. Army Air Forces, later carving out a career as a character actor known for his intense presence and sharp wit. His Hollywood journey was marked by the struggle to overcome typecasting and the challenge of adapting to a foreign culture, while privately he endured survivor guilt and the long-term psychological effects of displacement and loss. Askin's portrayal of Burkhalter allowed him to subvert his oppressors ironically on screen, channeling personal history into humor and critique, a testament to his resilience and intelligence. In later years, he returned to Vienna, receiving recognition and honors for his contributions to the arts, though he maintained a modest lifestyle. Askin died on June 3, 2005, at age 97 of natural causes. His net worth, likely under $1 million, reflected a life focused on artistic integrity rather than material accumulation. His enduring influence lies not only in his work as a performer but in the poignant juxtaposition of personal tragedy and comic artistry, creating characters that were both human and memorable while serving as a subtle act of historical reflection. Sigurd Valdis, born Patricia Annette Olson on September 21, 1935, in Bakersfield, California, entered the world in a modest household and faced a childhood shaped by a shifting family dynamic and the challenges of small-town life. She was 30 when she became Hilda, Colonel Klink's loyal and flirtatious secretary on Hogan's Heroes in 1965, a character whose charm, intelligence, and occasional complicity in Hogan's schemes made her an unforgettable presence despite limited screen time. Valdis' life off-screen, however, was a tapestry of intense highs and devastating lows. She married co-star Bob Crane, a union marked by passion but ultimately overshadowed by tragedy. Crane's shocking and unsolved murder in 1978 threw her into profound grief, and she withdrew entirely from acting afterward. Valdis navigated the aftermath with quiet dignity, confronting unresolved trauma and media scrutiny while attempting to maintain normalcy and privacy. Her personal life also included the challenge of raising children and managing relationships in the shadow of notoriety. Beyond Crane's death, Valdis contended with industry pressures, limited opportunities, and the psychological strain of being associated with a high-profile murder investigation. Despite this, she maintained connections with fans and preserved her late husband's legacy through tribute efforts and occasional public appearances. Valdis succumbed to lung cancer on October 14, 2007, at age 72. Her net worth, estimated at $16 million, was accumulated through residuals, shrewd investments, and co-ownership of intellectual property tied to her and Crane's work. Valdez' legacy is a blend of cinematic charm, resilience in the face of personal catastrophe, and enduring affection from a fan base that remembers both her talent and the poignancy of her life story, demonstrating how a brief but luminous career can leave an indelible cultural imprint. Howard Kane was born Howard Elmer Cohen on January 2, 1926, in Nashville, Tennessee, and at 39 he stepped into the role of Major Wolfgang Hochstetter in Hogan's Heroes, 1966, portraying a hypervigilant, paranoid Gestapo officer whose obsession with order and control was continually thwarted by Hogan and his team. Hochstetter's rigid precision and comedic frustration made him both menacing and memorably entertaining, and Kane infused the character with an intensity born of lived experience. Growing up in a Jewish family in the segregated South, Kane faced subtle anti-Semitism and the shadow of the Great Depression, learning early to navigate social prejudice and conceal vulnerability behind charm and wit. Personal tragedy marked his life repeatedly. As a Navy veteran in World War II, he endured the psychological toll of combat, and the loss of close comrades left a lasting imprint, influencing the depth and gravitas he brought to roles. Professionally, Kane's career was a mix of steady character work and niche artistic endeavors, including his passion for folk music and the banjo, which led to festival performances and recordings, yet he faced the disappointment of typecasting in stern or authoritarian roles and the frustration of Hollywood's limited opportunities for actors of his background. Off-screen, he maintained a relatively private life but was rumored to have clashed with directors over creative control, a testament to his uncompromising artistic standards. Kane died on December 28, 1993, at age 67 from a heart attack, leaving a modest estate valued under $500,000 that included his musical instruments, royalties, and personal memorabilia. His legacy endures in the enduring humor and distinctive presence he brought to Hogan's Heroes, alongside a quieter, rich life of artistic exploration and cultural contribution that belied his often stern on-screen persona. Cynthia Lynn was born Zinta Valdez on April 2, 1936, in Riga, Latvia, into a tumultuous world overshadowed by Nazi occupation and later Soviet control. Her childhood was marked by displacement and fear. Fleeing Soviet-occupied Latvia with her mother in 1950, she arrived in the United States as a teenage immigrant, grappling with trauma, cultural dislocation, and the need to conceal vulnerabilities while adapting to a new language and society. At 28, she portrayed Fräulein Helga, Colonel Klink's first secretary, in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, embodying an efficient, attractive, and subtly aware woman whose understated intelligence and poise added tension and nuance to the comedic chaos of the Paus schemes. Helga's presence blended charm, wit, and vulnerability, reflecting Lynn's own ability to navigate complex emotional landscapes. Off-screen, Lynn's life was intertwined with scandal and intrigue. Her romantic relationship with co-star Bob Crane became a source of tabloid speculation, and her daughter later claimed Lynn had a brief affair with Marlon Brando that resulted in her birth, adding layers of secrecy and social complication. Lynn's acting career was brief, and she eventually retreated from Hollywood, penning an autobiography that detailed her experiences and psychological struggles, including bouts of isolation and health challenges. She ultimately succumbed to multiple organ failure on March 10, 2014, at 76, after developing hepatitis. At her death, her estate was modest, under $1 million, encompassing royalties from her television work and personal assets. Cynthia Lynn's story reveals the hidden costs of early fame, the burdens of personal scandal, and the resilience required to forge a life of dignity beyond Hollywood. While her portrayal of Helga remains a culturally resonant example of subtle female intelligence within a comedic landscape often dominated by male authority figures. John Cedar was born on January 22, 1931, in Detroit, Michigan, into a working-class family that struggled during the Great Depression, shaping a resilient and disciplined temperament that would serve him well in life and on screen. At 34, he assumed the role of Corporal Karl Langenscheidt in Hogan's Heroes, 1965, portraying a timid, rule-abiding German soldier whose nervous adherence to regulations and understated humanity added both humor and pathos to the chaotic POW environment. Langenscheid's anxious, meticulous persona reflected Ceder's skill at rendering nuanced comedy within structured confines. Ceder's life was punctuated by professional challenges and personal setbacks, including periods of career uncertainty and the frustration of typecasting, which at times threatened to derail his artistic ambitions. He channeled adversity into creative output, diversifying into screenwriting, producing, and acting coaching, co-writing and co-producing the cult horror film The Manitou, and mentoring younger actors, demonstrating resilience and adaptability. Despite the demands of television work, he maintained an engagement with theater and independent film, balancing steady income with creative fulfillment. Ceder ultimately faced a battle with leukemia, dying on April 14, 2011, at 80. His estate, valued under $500,000, included residuals from decades of film and television, personal property, and intellectual rights. John Ceder's legacy is reflected in his layered character performances, the mentorship of emerging talent, and a career defined by persistence, creativity, and a dedication to craft that quietly influenced both Hollywood and the next generation of performers, illustrating the often unseen labor behind enduring screen presence. Walter Janowitz was born on January 18, 1913 in Teplitz-Skona, Austria-Hungary, now Teplice, Czech Republic, and was 52 when he began portraying Oskar Schnitzer in Hogan's Heroes in 1965, the gentle German dog trainer and merchant whose subtle gestures of kindness and humanity made him an unexpected ally to the POWs. On screen, Schnitzer's quiet, empathetic presence contrasted sharply with the camp's strict authority, and Janowitz infused him with a warmth that left audiences with a rare sense of moral clarity amid the comedy. Growing up in a region racked by ethnic tensions and post-World War I instability, Janowitz experienced social prejudice, economic scarcity, and the trauma of early upheaval, shaping his resilient, observant personality. Childhood losses, including the early death of a sibling and the challenge of surviving in a divided society, instilled in him a cautious empathy and a capacity for subtle humor that became his artistic hallmark. He emigrated to the United States, confronting the dislocation, language barriers, and cultural adaptation that come with leaving one's homeland, and entered Hollywood during a period when European émigré actors were often pigeonholed into narrow character roles. Despite a steady career, Janowitz endured professional frustrations, minor roles, uncredited appearances, and typecasting as elderly or European figures limited his visibility and earning potential. Personally, he remained private, devoting energy to mentoring young actors and cultivating a network of supportive colleagues, avoiding the public scandals that engulfed other actors of his era. He passed away on May 27, 1997 in Corona, California, at age 84, with a net worth likely under $500,000, largely derived from character work and modest real estate investments. Janowitz's legacy is subtle but enduring, demonstrating how an actor can enrich narratives through nuance, kindness, and consistency, leaving a lasting impression without fanfare, and embodying the quiet dignity of those who navigate both personal displacement and professional marginalization with grace. Edward Knight was born on July 12, 1927 in New York City and played Colonel Nicholas in Hogan's Heroes in 1965 at age 38, portraying a minor yet memorable figure whose rigid authority and brief antagonistic presence heightened the comedic tension of the POW camp. Knight's upbringing in a working-class household exposed him early to both opportunity and struggle. The son of a modest family, he faced economic limitations and societal expectations that demanded self-reliance, fostering a pragmatic resilience that would define his professional life. His path to acting was marked by repeated challenges, including audition rejections, lost roles to more conventionally marketable actors, and the tension of balancing family responsibilities. He was the father of Christopher Knight, famed as Peter Brady, which added both pride and pressure to his career trajectory. Professionally, he navigated the precarious world of television and film with determination, accepting supporting roles, occasional production work, and unglamorous yet steady engagements, yet he endured the internal frustrations of being overshadowed by stars while maintaining professionalism and dedication to craft. Personal life pressures included maintaining family stability while pursuing a demanding career, navigating the dual expectations of parenthood and Hollywood ambition. Knight quietly overcame these pressures, building a varied resume that reflected adaptability and reliability, a testament to perseverance in an industry that often undervalues steady character actors. He died on October 10, 2009 in Los Angeles, California, at 82, leaving behind an estate likely under $1 million, consisting of career earnings, residuals, and modest property investments. His legacy, while lacking headline notoriety, underscores the essential contributions of dedicated supporting actors whose work strengthens narratives, ensures consistency in performance, and demonstrates the quiet, enduring influence of professional resilience in Hollywood's golden age. Though time has passed, the laughter they gave us still echoes. The cast of Hogan's Heroes brought joy to millions, and even though some of them are no longer with us, their performances live on. As we remember those we've lost, we also celebrate the legacy they left behind, one that continues to entertain and connect generations. Thank you for joining us in honoring these unforgettable stars. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tributes to the legends of television history.